July 17th, 1933, Daleville, Indiana. The air is thick and heavy, like a wet blanket, saturated with the dust and heat of the Great Plains. Flies buzz lazily over the cracked asphalt of Main Street, where time itself seems to have stalled along with the nation's economy. Farmers get 10 cents a pound for cotton, and the banks foreclose on their land. In this quiet, sleepy atmosphere of desperation, a Ford V8 looks alien. Too black, too polished, its engine rumbling low, like a leashed beast. Inside, 3 men sit. At the wheel is William Sport Tansel, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. Beside him, Harry Pierpont, a large, silent man with a heavy gaze that seems to see through everything. But the center of gravity is in the back seat. John Dillinger. His suit is immaculate, his fedora tilted down over his eyes, hiding a cold, calculating smirk. Just 2 months ago, on May 22nd, he walked free after 9 long years in the Indiana State Prison at Michigan City. 9 years to study the system from the inside, to learn its weaknesses. 9 years to plan his return. He does not look at his companions. His gaze is fixed on the small brick building across the street, the Commercial Bank of Daleville. Ready? His voice is calm, devoid of any hint of excitement. It is not a question, but a statement. Pierpont nods silently. Tansel cuts the engine. The silence that follows, broken only by the creak of a car door, is deafening. They exit the car unhurriedly, like traveling salesmen or government agents. Dillinger adjusts his tie, his fingers brushing for a moment against the cold steel of the Colt M 1911 tucked beneath his jacket. Pierpont carries a small satchel. They cross the street, their footsteps kicking up small clouds of fine dust. The bank door opens with a soft creak. Inside it is cool and smells of old paper and furniture polish. Behind a massive oak counter sits a lone teller, an older man in thin-rimmed glasses. He looks up from his ledger, his face a mask of polite confusion. In that moment, the man's world narrows to the muzzle of Dillinger's pistol. "This is a stick-up," Dillinger says, his tone as level as if he were ordering a cup of coffee. "No sudden moves, and you will live to see dinner." Time stretches. Pierpont vaults over the counter in one fluid motion. His movements are precise and economical, the result of long hours of planning in a prison cell. The teller freezes, his hands slowly rising into the air. Tansel remains at the door, his hand resting on the stock of a shotgun hidden beneath his duster, despite the heat. He is the eyes and ears, the guardian of their small, perfectly organized universe of chaos. A metallic click, Pierpont opens the cash register, then the sweet rustle of currency as he sweeps it into the satchel. Dillinger never takes his eyes off the teller. He sees not just a man, he sees a symbol. A symbol of the very banks that sucked the life out of the country while he rotted in a cell. There is no hatred in his eyes, only the icy detachment of a surgeon performing a necessary operation. "The vault," he commands. The teller, trembling, leads Pierpont to a massive steel door. A combination, the turn of a handle, a heavy sigh as the door gives way. Inside, more cash. Not a fortune, but enough. $3,500. In 1933, it is enough money to buy several farms. It is all over in less than 5 minutes. Not a single shot fired. Not a single shout. Only cold, professional efficiency. Pierpont comes back around the counter, the satchel noticeably heavier. He nods to Dillinger. "We appreciate your cooperation," Dillinger says, tipping the brim of his fedora to the stunned teller. "You can tell the sheriff that John Dillinger sends his regards." They walk out as calmly as they walked in. The door swings shut behind them, returning the bank to its sleepy silence. Seconds later, the roar of the V8 engine shatters the peace of Daleville. The car peels away, leaving behind only a cloud of dust and a legend just beginning to be born. In the car, as the town recedes, Dillinger finally allows himself a smile. The money in the satchel is not just loot. It is a tool. It is a means to a much bolder and more personal end. He looks at Pierpont, and their shared glance contains a mutual understanding forged in the prison yard, These robberies are merely a prelude. The real work lies ahead. To break the rest of their crew, Russell Clark, Charles Mackley, Harry Copeland, out of the same Michigan City prison that had been his home for nearly a decade. He was going back there, but not as a prisoner. He would return as a liberator. September 22nd, 1933. Lima, Ohio. The air in the small boarding house room is stale, thick with the scent of cheap tobacco and old wallpaper. On a table, maps of Indiana and Ohio are spread out, marked with circles and lines drawn in pencil. John Dillinger leans over them, his focus absolute. The plan is nearly complete. The money from the robberies, a string of them since Daleville, has been secured. Weapons have been purchased. A contact on the inside has been paid. All that remains is the final approach. But outside, on the quiet residential street, the world has other plans. He never hears them coming. The Lima police, acting on a tip, move with silent efficiency. The knock on the door is a sharp, authoritative sound that cuts through his concentration. By the time he looks up, it is too late. The door splinters inward. Men with shotguns and revolvers fill the small space. For the first time since his release, John Dillinger's cold composure cracks. He is caught, not in a blaze of glory during a bank heist, but in a dingy room, looking at a map. He is arrested and taken to the Allen County Jail, his grand design for freeing his friends seemingly shattered. The news travels through the criminal underworld like a shockwave. In a hideout near Indianapolis, Harry Pierpont receives the message. His face, a mask of hard lines and shadows, remains unreadable. Around him, the other members of the fledgling gang, men like Charles Mackley and Russell Clark, who had already been paroled, look on, their hopes sinking. Their leader, the architect of their future, is caged again. But Pierpont is not a man given to despair. He is a man of action, forged in the same prison fires as Dillinger. The plan does not die, it merely changes. John wanted them out. They will get out, and then they will come for him. 4 days later, September 26th, 1933. Inside the walls of the Indiana State Prison at Michigan City, the afternoon routine grinds on. In the shirt factory, the air is filled with the rhythmic whirring of sewing machines and the smell of hot oil and cheap cotton. It is a soundscape of monotony designed to crush the spirit. But today, it is the soundtrack to a rebellion. A wooden crate delivered days earlier and marked simply "Thread" sits in a corner. It passed a cursory inspection. No one looked closely enough. Inside, nestled among the spools, wrapped in oilcloth, lie 3 Colt .45 automatic pistols and a cache of ammunition, a promise from the outside world. Harry Pierpont, working his station at a cutting table, catches the eye of Charles Mackley. A slight, almost imperceptible nod is exchanged. Russell Clark, positioned near the guard station, lets a bundle of fabric fall to the floor. As the guard stoops to retrieve it, the world explodes. Pierpont moves with a predator's grace. He is at the crate, splintering the wood with a tool from his station. The pistols are in their hands in seconds. The first guard is disarmed before he understands what is happening. A second guard, rushing toward the commotion, freezes as the black, unforgiving muzzle of a Colt centers on his chest. "Nobody move." Pierpont's voice is low, a gravelly command that carries over the dying hum of the machines. "We are walking out of here." They are not just 3 men anymore. They are a force of nature. They gather the prisoners who were part of the plan. Harry Copeland, Edward Schaus, Walter Dietrich, and 4 others. 10 men, now armed and united by a single purpose. They move through the corridors of the prison, not as inmates, but as an invading army. Their knowledge of the prison's routines, of the guards' schedules, of every blind spot and locked door, is now their greatest weapon. They reach the administration building, taking guards hostage as they go. They burst into the office of Warden Lewis Kunkel. The warden, a man accustomed to absolute authority, looks up from his desk into the determined eyes of the men he believed he controlled. "You are going to open the front gates for us, Warden," Mackley informs him, his voice devoid of emotion. "And you and your guards are going to walk out with us. Any tricks, and you will be the first to die." There is no negotiation. There is only the cold reality of the guns in their hands. Warden Kunkel, flanked by armed convicts, leads the procession to the main entrance. The massive steel gates, symbols of their long confinement, slide open. The 10 men step out into the late afternoon sun. The air of freedom is dizzying. They commandeer the warden's car and another vehicle, disappearing down the road before the prison sirens even begin their frantic wail. The first Dillinger gang has been born, and their first order of business is to drive straight to Lima, Ohio. They are coming to liberate their liberator. October 12th, 1933. Lima, Ohio. The evening descends with a damp chill, carrying the scent of burning leaves. Inside the Allen County Jail, the lights cast a sterile yellow glow on the polished linoleum floors of the sheriff's office. This is not a fortress like Michigan City. It is a county institution, built more to house petty thieves and drunkards than the nation's most talked-about criminal. Sheriff Jess Sarber, a man with 2 decades of law enforcement experience etched into the lines on his face, sits at his desk, finishing paperwork. His wife, Lucy, is in their attached living quarters, the smell of her cooking a comforting presence against the institutional coldness of the jail. Sheriff Sarber feels a certain pride in his prize prisoner. John Dillinger, locked away on the 2nd floor, is a national story. Federal agents have been to see him, journalists have called. Sarber, confident in his steel doors and his trusted deputy, Wilbur Sharp, sees it as a testament to the effectiveness of local law. He has no idea that the laws of loyalty and retribution are about to override his own. A dark sedan pulls to the curb outside. The engine is cut, and the silence that follows is heavy with intent. 3 men emerge, their movements sharp and purposeful in the dim light. They are dressed in dark suits and fedoras, their appearance that of government men. Harry Pierpont leads, his broad shoulders filling his suit jacket. Charles Mackley and Russell Clark flank him. They approach the main entrance, their faces set like stone. The knock on the door is firm, official. Sheriff Sarber looks up from his desk, a flicker of annoyance in his eyes. He walks to the door, a heavy ring of keys jangling at his hip. He sees the 3 well-dressed men through the reinforced glass. "Can I help you, gentlemen?" he asks, his voice muffled by the thick door. "We're officers from the Indiana State Prison," Pierpont announces, his voice a low rumble. "We have papers for the transfer of John Dillinger. We're taking him back to Michigan City tonight." Sarber's brow furrows. A night transfer is unusual, but not unheard of. He unlocks the door and lets them into the office. The air suddenly feels colder, charged with a tension he cannot quite place. He studies the men. They are hard-looking, their eyes constantly moving, scanning the room, the layout, the door to his living quarters. His instincts, honed over 20 years, scream that something is wrong. "I'll need to see your credentials," Sarber says, his hand resting near the butt of his holstered revolver. Pierpont meets his gaze. A cold, thin smile touches his lips. "These are our credentials," he says, and in one fluid motion, a Colt .45 automatic is in his hand, its muzzle inches from Sarber's face. The sheriff reacts instantly, lunging for his own weapon. But he is 1 man against 3. A deafening roar fills the small office as Pierpont fires. The bullet strikes Sarber in the abdomen, throwing him back against his desk. Before he can fall, Mackley is on him, striking him over the head with the butt of his pistol, a sickening crunch of bone echoing in the room. The office door bursts open and Lucy Sarber stands there, a plate in her hand, her face a mask of horror. Deputy Sharp, drawn by the noise, appears behind her. Clark levels a shotgun at them. "Get back! Do not move!" Pierpont ignores the sheriff, now bleeding on the floor, and turns to the terrified woman. "The keys. Give me the keys to the cells. Now." Sobbing, her hands shaking uncontrollably, Lucy points to the ring on her husband's belt. Mackley rips them away. "Where is he?" Pierpont demands. "Upstairs," she chokes out. "Second cell on the right." Leaving Clark to guard the deputy and Lucy, Pierpont and Mackley take the stairs 2 at a time. They move with brutal efficiency through the cell block. They reach the second cell. Inside, John Dillinger is on his feet, his face pressed against the bars. He had heard the shot, the commotion. He knew. "Hello, boys," Dillinger says, a wide, relieved grin spreading across his face. "I was beginning to wonder when you would get here." Mackley finds the right key. The lock groans and the cell door swings open. John Dillinger is free. He steps out and claps Pierpont on the shoulder. There are no lengthy thanks, just a shared look of absolute understanding. They are a single entity now, a brotherhood forged in prison and baptized in blood. They descend the stairs to a scene of grim finality. Sheriff Jess Sauber is dead. John Dillinger looks down at the body, his expression unreadable. This was not part of his plan, but it is the consequence of it. They have crossed a line from which there is no return. They are no longer just bank robbers, they are cop killers. They lock Lucy Sarber and Deputy Sharp in an empty cell, take every gun and all the ammunition from the sheriff's weapons locker, and walk out into the cool Ohio night. The dark sedan roars to life, its tires squealing as it peels away from the curb, leaving behind a silence broken only by the sound of a woman's weeping. The gang is whole again, and infinitely more dangerous. November 20th, 1933. Racine, Wisconsin. The American Bank and Trust Company stands as a monument to stability on the corner of Main and Fifth, its stone facade exuding an air of permanence in a world racked by uncertainty. Inside, the morning proceeds with its usual quiet hum of commerce. Tellers count out worn bills, customers wait patiently in line, and the bank's president, Grover Wayland, reviews ledgers in his office. Outside, a cold, biting wind whips off Lake Michigan, rattling the windows and forcing pedestrians to huddle deeper into their coats. A Hudson sedan, its color a nondescript gray, cruises slowly past the bank. John Dillinger is at the wheel. His face is leaner now, his eyes sharper. The 10 weeks since the Lima jailbreak have transformed him and his crew. They are no longer just a gang. They are a mobile, disciplined criminal enterprise. With the addition of new members like the volatile and deadly George Babyface Nelson, they have become a plague upon the Midwest. They have hit police arsenals in Auburn and Peru, Indiana, amassing a terrifying collection of Thompson submachine guns, Browning automatic rifles, shotguns, and thousands of rounds of ammunition, all paid for with cash from a string of successful bank robberies. Today's target in Racine is their most audacious yet. Dillinger has scouted it for days, timing the police patrols, noting the number of employees, memorizing the layout. This is not a smash-and-grab job. It is a military-style operation. He parks the Hudson a block away. Harry Pierpont, Charles Mackley, and Russell Clark get out, their long coats concealing the hardware slung beneath their arms. A second car, a Buick, pulls up behind them, driven by Harry Copeland, with Babyface Nelson riding shotgun. They are the lookout and getaway team. The first 3 men enter the bank separately, spaced seconds apart, melting into the crowd of customers. Dillinger remains in the Hudson, the engine running, a Thompson resting on the seat beside him. His role is command and control. He watches the street, his senses on high alert. Inside, Pierpont approaches a teller's window, seemingly to make a transaction. As the teller looks up, Pierpont's hand emerges from his coat, not with a check, but with a Colt .45. Simultaneously, Mackley and Clark pull their weapons. "This is a hold-up!" Mackley's voice booms through the cavernous room, silencing all conversation. "Everyone lie down on the floor! Now!" Panic erupts. A woman screams. But the gang's movements are a study in controlled violence. Clark vaults over a side gate and begins efficiently clearing out cash drawers, stuffing thick stacks of bills into a canvas sack. Mackley herds the terrified customers and employees into a corner, his shotgun a menacing deterrent to any thoughts of heroism. Pierpont heads directly for the president's office. He kicks the door open. Grover Wayland looks up, his face pale. Behind him, a bank guard, Officer Wilbur Hanson, reaches for his revolver. It is a fatal mistake. Pierpont fires once. The shot is deafening. Officer Hanson stumbles back, clutching his chest, and collapses. From a cage near the vault, another bank employee, Harold Graham, pulls a hidden pistol and fires at the intruders. The bullet whizzes past Pierpont's head. Babyface Nelson, who was supposed to be outside, bursts through the front door, his Thompson chattering. He sprays a wild, uncontrolled burst across the top of the teller's cages, sending plaster and marble chips flying. His face is a contorted mask of pure, ecstatic rage. He is not a professional. He is a killer who enjoys his work. The calculated precision of the robbery dissolves into chaos. Outside, the gunshot alerts a traffic cop. Whistles blow. Dillinger sees the first police car rounding the corner. He lays on the horn, the signal to get out. Inside, Clark grabs the money sack. They have over $28,000. Pierpont drags President Wayland out of his office, using him as a human shield. They back out of the bank, firing into the ceiling to keep everyone down. Nelson, laughing, follows them, unleashing another burst from his Thompson toward the street. They sprint for the getaway cars. Police are arriving, firing their service revolvers, the small caliber slugs pinging harmlessly off the thick steel of the automobiles. Dillinger leans out the window of the Hudson, his own Thompson spitting fire. The heavy .45 caliber rounds from the submachine guns tear through the police cruisers, shattering windshields and puncturing tires. The officers dive for cover. The gang piles into the cars. With tires screaming and guns blazing, they tear through the streets of Racine, leaving a trail of shell casings, terrified witnesses, and a bleeding city. They have executed a flawless robbery and a violent escape, cementing their reputation. The press dubs them the Terror Gang. For law enforcement, they are phantoms, striking at will and vanishing into the backroads of America. For a public beaten down by the Depression, they are something else entirely, a symbol of defiance, men who took on the banks and the government and won. John Dillinger is no longer just a criminal. He is becoming a folk hero, and the newly formed Division of Investigation in Washington, D.C., under a young, ambitious director named J. Edgar Hoover, is beginning to take notice. January 15, 1934, East Chicago, Indiana. The snow falls in thick, wet flakes, muffling the sounds of the industrial city and coating the First National Bank in a blanket of white. The calm is deceptive. Inside, John Dillinger and his gang are in the final moments of another robbery. It has gone smoothly, almost too smoothly. They have $40,000 in the bags, but as they prepare to exit, a rookie patrolman, William O'Malley, spots the getaway car, a black Studebaker, idling suspiciously. He approaches, his hand on his weapon. John Red Hamilton, the gang's newest addition and a skilled wheelman, sees him coming. The back door of the bank opens. Dillinger steps out, money sack in hand. He sees O'Malley, and time slows down. The officer draws his revolver. Dillinger raises his Thompson. The staccato bark of the submachine gun echoes between the brick buildings. O'Malley is hit 4 times before he can fire a shot. He falls into the snow, his blood a stark crimson stain against the white. The gang escapes, but the killing of a police officer changes the dynamic completely. J. Edgar Hoover, director of the Division of Investigation, soon to be renamed the Federal Bureau of Investigation, now has the jurisdiction he needs. Dillinger has crossed a state line to commit a crime and killed an officer. He is no longer just a state problem. He is a federal menace. Hoover assigns his best agent, Melvin Purvis, from the Chicago office to lead the hunt. The full weight of the United States government is about to descend upon the Dillinger gang. Unaware of the storm gathering around them, the gang needs to lie low. The Midwest is too hot. They need a place to disappear, to let the heat die down and plan their next moves. They decide to head west, to the dry, sun-baked anonymity of Tucson, Arizona. They split up, traveling in pairs and small groups to avoid attracting attention, planning to rendezvous at the historic Hotel Congress in the heart of the city. January 21st, 1934. Tucson, Arizona. Charles Makeley and Russell Clark are the first to arrive. They check into the hotel under aliases, their heavy luggage filled not with clothes but with Browning automatic rifles and ammunition. They are loud, flashy, their city manners and wads of cash drawing unwelcome attention in the sleepy desert town. The next night, a fire breaks out in the hotel's basement. It spreads quickly, smoke filling the corridors. The hotel is evacuated. In the chaos, Makeley and Clark, concerned only with their arsenal, act suspiciously. They offer 2 local firemen, William Benedict and Frank Amon, a generous sum, $12 each, to retrieve their heavy bags from their smoke-filled third-floor room. Later, relaxing after the fire, Fireman Benedict thumbs through a copy of True Detective magazine. He stares at a photograph, his blood running cold. The faces of 2 of America's most wanted criminals stare back at him from the page: Charles Makeley and Russell Clark. He recognizes them instantly as the two men who had paid him so handsomely to rescue their luggage. He immediately contacts the Tucson Police Department. Chief Gus Roche, a shrewd and experienced lawman, understands the magnitude of the situation. He knows this is not a job for a simple arrest warrant. He mobilizes his entire force, quietly, methodically. He has the identities of the men. Now, he just needs to find them. The gang, scattered across Tucson, is blissfully ignorant. Dillinger and his girlfriend, Billy Frechette, are staying at a small tourist court on South 6th Avenue. Red Hamilton is in another. Harry Pierpont and his girlfriend, Mary Kinder, are at a separate location. They feel safe, hidden in the vastness of the desert. The trap begins to close. On the morning of January 25th, police spot Russell Clark taking his car to a local garage for a new paint job. A classic outlaw tactic. They wait. When he returns to pick it up, they surround him. Clark, caught completely off guard, surrenders without a fight. The real prize is Pierpont. Tipped off by an address found in Clark's possession, a team of officers descends on his rented house. Pierpont answers the door and finds himself looking down the barrels of several police revolvers. A notorious gunfighter, he doesn't hesitate. He tries to slam the door and go for a weapon, but the officers burst in, wrestling him to the ground in a violent struggle. The net tightens. Makeley is arrested a short time later at a local radio store. Finally, acting on information from the others, the police move in on Dillinger's quiet tourist court. He is walking out the front door on his way to meet the others when 4 officers step out from behind parked cars, shotguns leveled at his chest. For a moment, his hand hovers near the pistol under his coat. He looks at the faces of the officers, at the muzzles of their guns. He sees the absolute certainty in their eyes. There will be no escape this time. He slowly raises his hands. "Well, I'll be damned," John Dillinger says, a wry, defeated smile on his face. The entire top echelon of the Dillinger gang, the most feared and successful group of outlaws in America, has been captured without a single shot being fired by law enforcement, all thanks to a hotel fire and a detective magazine. February 17th, 1934, Crown Point, Indiana. A convoy of police cars, sirens silent, rolls through the flat, frozen landscape of northern Indiana. Inside one of the vehicles, shackled hand and foot, sits John Dillinger. He is being extradited from Arizona not to Ohio for the murder of Sheriff Sarber, nor to Wisconsin for the bank robbery in Racine, but to Indiana to face charges for the killing of Officer William O'Malley. The other gang members, including Pierpont and Makeley, are sent to Ohio, a state with the death penalty, to stand trial for Sarber's murder, a fate the Indiana prosecutors are keen to avoid for their high-profile captive. They are taking him to the Lake County Jail in Crown Point. It is a modern facility, a 2-story brick and concrete structure billed by local authorities as 100% escape-proof. As Dillinger is led inside, a media circus erupts. Flashbulbs pop, reporters shout questions. Inside the jail, Lake County prosecutor Robert Estill, a man with clear political ambitions, sees an opportunity. He arranges a photo op, draping a friendly arm over Dillinger's shoulder, the two of them smiling for the cameras like old friends. Dillinger, ever the charismatic performer, plays his part perfectly, charming the guards and joking with the press. He is a celebrity, and the authorities are treating him like one. This casual, overconfident atmosphere will prove to be their undoing. Dillinger is placed in a cell block with more than a dozen other inmates. The days turn into weeks. The initial excitement fades, replaced by the crushing routine of incarceration. His trial date is set. The state is confident. They have their man locked tight in their brand new escape-proof jail, guarded by a full complement of sheriff's deputies and Indiana National Guardsmen. But inside his cell, John Dillinger is not idle. He is observing, listening, planning. He studies the guards' rotations, the delivery schedules, the very rhythm of the building. He finds an unlikely ally in Herbert Youngblood, a fellow inmate awaiting trial for murder. More importantly, he gains access to the prison woodshop. With painstaking patience, using a razor blade and a piece of shelving, he begins to carve. He works in secret, hiding his project under his mattress. Shaping the block of wood with the focus of a master craftsman, he stains it black with shoe polish, burnishing it until it gleams with a dull, menacing sheen. He has created a perfect replica of a Colt automatic pistol. Saturday, March 3rd, 1934. The morning routine is underway. It is a skeletal weekend crew, the usual vigilance softened by familiarity. At approximately 8:15, as a trustee delivers breakfast trays, Dillinger makes his move. When his cell door is opened, he springs out, the wooden gun shoved hard into the trustee's ribs. "This is it," he whispers, his voice deadly serious. "One wrong move, and you're dead." The trustee freezes, his eyes wide with terror. He believes the gun is real. That is all that matters. Using the trustee as a shield, Dillinger and Youngblood move down the corridor. They surprise a guard, Sam Cahoon, disarming him of his real Colt. Now, the game has changed. The prop has been replaced with a fully loaded weapon. They methodically take control of the cell block, locking guards and trustees into empty cells. Dillinger, now armed and in command, moves with chilling confidence. He uses the jail's intercom system to summon more guards to the block, capturing them one by one as they arrive. In less than an hour, he has taken over the entire top floor of the escape-proof jail. His final objective is the garage in the basement. He forces a captured deputy to lead him down. There, he finds exactly what he is looking for. Sheriff Lillian Hawley's brand new personally owned Ford V8 sedan. Its engine powerful, its gas tank full. He herds his hostages, including several garage mechanics, into the car. With Youngblood at the wheel and Dillinger holding a Thompson submachine gun he found in the jail's armory, they drive up the ramp and out into the morning light. The escape is a national sensation. It is a profound humiliation for Prosecutor Estill and a massive black eye for law enforcement. But for J. Edgar Hoover, it is an opportunity. When Dillinger drives Sheriff Hawley's Ford across the Indiana-Illinois state line, he commits a federal offense, transporting a stolen vehicle across state lines, a violation of the Dyer Act. Hoover declares John Dillinger public enemy number one. He unleashes the full power of the Bureau, flooding the Midwest with agents. A massive $25,000 reward is offered for his capture. The hunt is no longer a regional affair, it is a national war. Dillinger, free once more, gathers a new gang, including the psychopathic baby-faced Nelson, and prepares for the Bureau's onslaught. He has become more than an outlaw. He is now a symbol of rebellion, a living legend running on borrowed time, with Melvin Purvis and the FBI closing in like a tightening steel net. July 22nd, 1934, Chicago, Illinois. The city swelters under a suffocating heat wave. The air is a thick, stagnant soup of humidity and industrial smog, offering no relief even as the sun begins to set. On the north side, the marquee of the Biograph Theater glows with a garish promise of air-cooled comfort. Tonight's feature is Manhattan Melodrama, a gangster film starring Clark Gable. For the people lining up to escape the oppressive heat, it is a fantasy of crime and consequence. For the man standing in line with two women, it is a grim reflection of his own life. John Dillinger is a changed man. The last 4 months have been a desperate, bloody flight. The shootout at the Little Bohemia Lodge in Wisconsin was a disaster. A botched federal raid that left an agent and a civilian dead and saw the gang scatter to the winds. Babyface Nelson's murderous rampage had further alienated him from what remained of his crew. He has undergone crude plastic surgery, his face puffy and scarred, his fingerprints burned with acid in a futile attempt to erase his identity. He is a ghost, haunting the city where he once felt untouchable, his network of safe houses dismantled, his allies dead or in prison. He is alone, paranoid, and running out of places to hide. The two women with him are Polly Hamilton, his current girlfriend, and Anna Sage, the madam of the brothel where Polly works. Anna Sage, a Romanian immigrant facing deportation on charges of low moral character, sees Dillinger not as a friend, but as a get-out-of-jail-free card. She has made a deal. She has contacted the Chicago office of the FBI and spoken with Agent Melvin Purvis. She will deliver public enemy number one in exchange for a cash reward and the government's help in stopping her deportation. The plan is simple. Anna has told Purvis that she will be wearing a bright orange skirt, but under the artificial lights of the theater district it will appear red. She will be the lady in red, a living marker for the federal agents who will be waiting. As Dillinger buys the tickets, the trap is set. Melvin Purvis and a team of 16 hand-picked agents, a mix of federal men and officers from the East Chicago Police Department, begin to filter into the surrounding area. They are a grim, determined force, armed with Colt .38 super automatics and .38 revolvers. They try to blend in with the evening crowds, loitering in doorways, leaning against buildings, their eyes fixed on the entrance to the biograph. Purvis, a small, impeccably dressed man, stands across the street, his face a mask of nervous anticipation. He knows this cannot be another Little Bohemia. There can be no mistakes tonight. Inside the theater, the darkness is a temporary reprieve. For 90 minutes, Dillinger loses himself in the flickering images on the screen. He watches Clark Gable's character, a gangster named Blackie Gallagher, walk calmly to the electric chair. He sees the story of a criminal's life played out, from its daring heights to its inevitable, fatal conclusion. At 10:30 post-meridian, the film ends. The lights come up. The audience begins to file out into the thick, hot night. Dillinger, flanked by the two women, emerges from the theater. He puts on his straw boater hat and lights a cigarette. He makes a casual remark to Polly about the film. Across the street, Melvin Purvis sees them. He sees the woman in the brightly colored dress. He lifts his cigar to his lips. The prearranged signal. That's him. The agents begin to close in, moving with a quiet, deadly purpose. They converge from all directions, creating a tightening circle of federal law. Agent Charles Winstead, a veteran lawman from Texas, is closest. Dillinger, his senses honed by months on the run, feels the shift in the atmosphere. He sees a man in a suit staring at him from a storefront. He glances the other way and sees another. His hand instinctively darts toward the pocket of his trousers, where a Colt Model 1908 vest pocket pistol rests. "Stick 'em up, Johnny," an agent shouts. "You're surrounded." There is no thought of surrender. Dillinger bolts, turning into the narrow alley that runs alongside the theater. It is a desperate, reflexive dash for freedom. He pulls the small automatic from his pocket. He never gets the chance to fire it. 3 agents open fire. The alley explodes with the deafening cracks of their pistols. One bullet strikes Dillinger in the side. Another tears through his back. A third, fired by Agent Winstead, enters the back of his neck, severs his spinal cord, and exits just below his right eye. He pitches forward, his momentum carrying him a few feet before he collapses face first onto the grimy pavement.